Last year, this channel dove into the world of Super Mario 64 after it had been flooded with water. From analyzing how the game changed based upon its flooded state, to seeing if it was possible to beat the game completely while underwater. It was a wild ride, and Mario unfortunately drowned quite a bit in the process. However, Super Mario 64's worlds are tiny compared to the grand scale of Super Mario Galaxies. So how would Super Mario Galaxy respond if its galaxies were full to the brim with water? Well, with the help of SPG64, we actually get to find out. They recently gave Super Mario Galaxy the underwater treatment, and I've been eager to start experimenting with it. So in this video, we're going to see how things change by starting the game completely flooded. Hold your breath, because it's time for another deep dive. Upon starting up the game, we can see that even the title screen is completely flooded. This is because the title screen itself is actually a map file, so not even it was safe from the Great Flood. Once the intro cutscene subsides, Peach's letter appears on screen in a waterlogged state. Immediately after this is done, Mario decides to go running through the ocean and into the Star Festival. It's pretty neat watching the bubbles float up in the flooded cutscenes. As soon as it's over though, it's a race against the clock. So the thing about the Star Festival is that since there isn't any enemies, or normally any way to take damage, the intro sequence doesn't have coins on the map. So when we spawn, it's super important to start swimming for dear life. No coins means no way to restore health, unless we're interrupted by a cutscene. All the toads are acting normal, and when I got to the town down below, I realized the cutscene for invasion didn't take place. I somehow bypassed it by swimming over it. This meant that my air wasn't going to get replenished, and honestly, it had me worried that it was already game over if somehow Peach's cutscene didn't start. Luckily, on the brink of running out of air, I was able to start the cutscene without issue. But this was just a small taste of what awaited me on my adventure. Now, the cutscene that takes place with Peach getting her castle ripped out of the ground doesn't take place in real time, so the water effects aren't interjected into it. The game simply plays a movie file when this happens. But it isn't long after this that we find ourselves in Gateway Galaxy, hunting down the Grand Star. It's interesting because cutscenes that play in real time seem to be affected by the presence of water. The camera mainly. When Mario is waking up, we can see that the camera is skewed and not correctly oriented with where we're supposed to be. We can even see the air icon on screen, and it's slanted as well. Luckily, dialogue boxes save us from losing air, but I knew I was in for a world of hurt once this bunny was done talking to me. I began swimming around the island looking for ways to restore my air, because I knew I would drown quickly given that this was multiple planets long. Coins restore a small sliver of air, but something super helpful is that entering strange gravity regions, like the interior of the planet, actually resets Mario's water position, making him enter water again. This meant I could use this to restore air, or at least I thought I could until the game soft-locked. Mario was stuck in an infinite loop because his character wasn't responding to the orientation change that the gravity normally does. So, I guess that's the way to go? Infinite air, but frozen for all of time. Even if we make it past this, we're doomed, because trying to swim through the center of our gravity plane feels impossible. It's constantly trying to readjust you, and it feels like a whirlpool you can't escape from. So, Mario dies again. So that's a cool mechanic, but I knew if I wanted to survive, I was going to have to haul some butt. I can't catch the rabbit, so there's no point in wasting my time trying to do so. But I can just swim to the end of the level. But that's when we come across another problem. I bypassed the majority of the level, but after unlocking the pipe for the final planet, I then realized Mario can't go down pipes. Mario can only die at pipes. But even while drowning, my Mario Galaxy brain was expanding. You see, even though we go down a pipe here to normally get inside this planet to collect the Grand Star, the interior of this planet isn't actually stored inside the object. Mario Galaxy always stores its interiors out in the middle of space. Mind you, they won't load in when you look at them, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. So basically the interior for this section is stored directly outwards from the blue roofed house on the first planet. So we have to guess and check until we eventually find it. It's a bit far out in space, but it is possible to reach it. However, even though the spin move increases swim speed exponentially, it is also dangerous, because using it will cause us to deflect off the outer boundaries of the interior. This disorientation will cause us precious air, and more than likely will lead to death. But as long as we make it inside the interior, the game will respawn us in it again with full air. So we're golden, Ponyboy. Something super bizarre about being underwater though is that the switch platforms will get hit even if we just swim over them, even if you are super far away from them. This makes clearing this interior section pretty strange, and you have to be careful to ensure you just stick to the ground. But with all the switches hit, we've gotten a Grand Star, and have made it to the Observatory. So far, things have been a bit complex. I mean, we've only done the intro to the game, and I can already tell how brutal some of the levels are going to be. You can only spin to defeat enemies underwater, which means you'll only ever get star bits, because only jumps cause enemies to generate coins. And given how far away some of the planets are in the game, and knowing that some launch stars aren't going to be able to be spawned, it definitely makes this whole experience a bit uneasy. And Good Day Galaxy sort of cemented those feelings. Setting out for Star 1, I learned a lot of things the hard way. For starters, we aren't getting air back any way other than random coins. I was hoping utilizing launch stars underwater or activating cutscenes would do the trick, but we're totally screwed. So basically we have to haul butts all the way to the launch star right before the boss, break it open, and then rocket over to the boss area initiating the fight. With no additional air since the start of the level, and very few coins, it's brutal. It's interesting though, because Dino Piranha's tail can get hit with a spin attack in directions it isn't normally supposed to be hit in, so you're capable of sending it skyward and having it plummet straight down. But the camera is absolutely awful during this fight though. The only way to ever land a hit on the boss is to swim straight up and then straight down, hoping the boss walked under you in that time. It's very easy to get hit, and every time you do get hit, you actually have less time to survive before you drown. I died many times at this boss and just gave up because it wasn't fun. It's definitely doable, given that the boss has super low health, but good grief, the underwater camera is out for blood for sure. At this point we're going to switch things up though, because honestly, I want to test some stuff out in underwater worlds. So we're going to speed through some interesting things I encountered. For this we'll be loading a completed save file, switching over to our boy Ouija, and granting ourselves infinite air. I made my way over to the fountain area, but realized just how difficult it was to select the blue star since the camera was no longer locked down. It's weird seeing a free cam in this room too. Anyways, I wanted to see what would happen if we got into a star ball underwater. So I set my sails for Rolling Green Galaxy and got ready to saddle up. I always hate these levels in general, but with the added water this place did have some charm. Upon approaching the star ball, I was pleasantly surprised that Luigi climbed on top of it and acted like he wasn't underwater. I can move around as normal, and the water didn't affect me. Honestly, I was expecting Luigi to not be able to get on, or for the game to crash, so this caught me off guard a bit. Swinging on over to Bowser's Star Reactor, there was a multitude of discoveries that I made about being underwater. I was really wondering if lots of things that normally would have damaged me wouldn't have, given I was in a different state, so to speak. Swimming into underwater fire surprisingly removed me from the water for a moment as Luigi played his burning animation, but as soon as the player regains control, they go into swimming mode again. If I didn't have infinite air on, that probably would be a good strategy to refill one's air meter. You could essentially trade a coin for full air. Next up, we have Thwomps, who normally defeat Mario or Luigi in one hit. Now, this one I had my doubts about, and I ended up being right. Because our character is floating and isn't touching the ground, the Thwomp can't mess with us. We can't be pushed underwater. So we clip through the Thwomp and won't die at all. I found this to be pretty neat, but as I was swimming away, I then discovered that death planes, of course, still affect you the same underwater, and when hit, they still do that spinning character effect. After navigating through the opposite gravity maze, which sucked, I then got to Bowser and realized just how weird things could get. So every time I approached Bowser, I felt like I got different results, because I did this a few times. On my first approach, Bowser jumped down and started raining fire on me, but underwater, the meteors look a lot less deadly. For some reason, the water caused one to get stuck floating in midair too. Since I can basically fly, I swam up to Bowser and passed through him. That's how I got this weird shot of Luigi sticking out of Bowser's nose. Moving to the center of this platform though, the main cutscene triggered, and Bowser challenged me to a duel. It was really funny watching him try to force me up to his arena though, because Luigi just didn't do anything. He hardcore noped right out of that dangerous situation. Eventually, I swam up to him, and Bowser was just eagerly waiting for me to eventually come up. When I got near, the game crashed hardcore, so I decided to try again. This time, Bowser never jumped down to the side of the cliff to rain down fire. Instead, I got warped right underneath him, and he just stood there with Luigi looking weird beneath him. The game was still running, but I couldn't move or do any actions though. We were stuck like this forever. Poor Luigi. Okay, third time's the charm? This time Bowser jumped down and none of his meteors got stuck. But as he was waiting, I went to the arena first, but nothing happened. Going back down, I realized I couldn't get the cutscene to start, so I had to backtrack up the steps to make Bowser happy as he destroyed them. Things were back to normal then. Well, at least as normal as things could get. Bowser's cutscene started, he tried to warp me up top, but I had Luigi in defense mode. And, swimming back up crashed the game. It looks like Bowser cannot be interacted with up here while underwater, so the game just implodes in the process. And that was the end of my strange underwater adventure. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack here when the game is completely flooded. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. If this gets like 10k likes, then maybe I'll try another crack at underwater nonsense. If there's anything specific you want me to check out, let me know in the comments below too. And with that, thanks for watching, guys and gals, and until my next watery adventure, cheers.